Hey everyone, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2020 Toyota Highlander, we're going to be showing you how to install the EcoHitch Trailer Hitch Receiver. Before we get into that though, let's just take a minute, we'll check this out and make sure it's going to be the right hitch for you. Putting a hitch on the back of a vehicle like the Highlander makes a lot of sense. People use these to do a lot of different things, really capable SUVs. And so if you're looking to pull a trailer, use accessories, or even a little bit of both, this is definitely going to be a great option for you. Being that there are quite a few hitches available for the Highlander, one of the things that really sets this one apart, well, a couple things really, is one, the fact that this is going to work with all the different types of submodels, from your base model to your limited to fully loaded, hybrids, and everything in between. And that's not the case with some of the other hitches. They'll only be compatible with certain types of submodels and not others. This one too, you can also use, if your vehicle happens to have that full size, that 20-inch low profile spare tire, you're able to put that back up into position with the hitch installed. And your normal spares too, no issues there. So it seems like some of the more premier Highlanders that have that low profile 20-inch spare, you got to be careful because of some of the other hitches that won't be compatible. This one it is. And this is also going to have a pretty high tongue rating compared to some of the other more hidden type hitches, the less visible ones. So if you're looking to carry around a really heavy bike rack or a real heavy cargo carrier, this one will give you a little bit more breathing room. A lot of people do wonder if putting a trailer hitch back here is going to interfere with your hands-free liftgate assist feature. And the answer is no. As long as you kick your foot to either side of the receiver tube opening, the sensor will pick it up and the hatch will open like it should. Might take you a time or two to kind of get used to it, figure out that sweet spot, but once you do, you have no issues there. Like I said a moment ago, this is going to be a less visible type hitch, meaning for the most part it'll all be hidden. You're really just going to be able to see the receiver tube opening, and I think it puts off a factory type option, honestly. There are some more visible hitches that hang down and in my opinion definitely don't look as good, but with those they're really stout and heavy duty. So if you're going to primarily be doing a lot of towing and stuff on the heavier side, those might be a better option for you, or at least worth looking into. But with that in mind, this is going to have a 2-inch by 2-inch receiver tube opening, which is a good thing. Super common size, a lot of accessories will work with it. It is going to use that standard 5/8 pin and clip. One doesn't come with the hitch. If you need one, not a huge deal. Get it here at eTrailer. A lot of times too, if you end up buying a new accessory, they'll come with one. So something to look out for there. And I do like the safety chain openings. They're upright and the plate style, less visible for sure. Kind of tucked back there. And they're going to give you enough space to use pretty much any size hook that your trailer might have on it. When it comes to the hitch's weight capacities, maximum gross tongue weight is going to be 750 pounds, which is the amount of weight pushing down on the hitch. It's a really high number. Shouldn't have any issues using pretty much any size bike rack or cargo carrier, to give you an example. And for the maximum gross trailer weight rating, that's going to be 5,000 pounds, or the amount of weight pulling on the hitch. That'll be the weight of your trailer plus anything that you might have in or on it. And I do always like to recommend, it's never a bad idea if you just grab your Toyota's owner's manual. That way you can check in there and make sure that your Highlander can handle that amount of weight safely. We'll grab a couple measurements now, and these will help us figure out what type of accessories will work best. If you go from the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube opening, it's going to be about 17 inches. So for those of you doing some towing, you can use a ball mount that has a straight shank, or maybe even one with a slight drop in it. Maybe an inch or so would probably work well for most situations. And if you go from the center of the hitch pin hole to the edge of the rear bumper, that's going to be about 3.5 inches, which is really good. Shouldn't really run into too many issues here, but if need be, you can use that to help figure out exactly if any of those folding type accessories that you might have can be stored upright without hitting the back of your Toyota. When it comes down to it, a really safe bet as far as picking out a trailer hitch is concerned, the fact that it works with all these different submodels, it's not going to mess with your hands-free liftgate assist, looks great, has good capacities. It's one you really can't go wrong with. As far as the installation goes, it's really not too bad. A couple small things that I ran into that I figured out, and hopefully that can kind of help you out during your installation, speed things up a little bit for you, but you really shouldn't run into too many snags. Toyota makes things pretty easy when it comes to putting hitches on the back of these vehicles. Now, if you don't have a place to work on it or the time, whatever the case may be, you can always use our dealer locator network, and that can help you find a shop in your neighborhood that can set something like this up for you. But if you're doing it yourself, hang around. We'll go ahead and get started on it now. To begin our installation, we're going to be working underneath the back of our Highlander. And to start things off, right here in this area, we're going to have two little plastic tabs that come out that we'll need to free from the body of our vehicle. To get these out, I'm just going to use a flathead screwdriver, just a push pin fastener, pry down on the head of it, work the base out. I'm going to do the same exact thing for the one on the other side. Moving to our driver's side, we have this underbody panel we need to get out of our way. So it looks like there's going to be a couple of push pin fasteners, just like the ones that we took out a second ago. Use that same technique to get those removed. You kind of just work your way around it and see what's actually holding it in place. We have this one here. I think that's it for the push pins. So we can switch out to a 10mm socket, work our way around, and get these screws pulled out. Looks like too, right here in the corner, there's another 10mm head screw. I'll pull that one out as well. And then if you kind of move into this little gap here by the spare tire, there's two of these little plastic nuts. And I just have a 13mm socket and an extension. I'm just turning it by hand. A lot of times you have to kind of do both of them. If they're not coming off the stud, you can spin it while you're putting pressure down on the panel. That'll help it release. And sometimes, you know, these can be kind of a pain. You just apply that pressure to them, and they'll come off. And that should be it holding this panel in place, which it is. So pop it out of position and set it off to the side for now. Our passenger side, we're going to remove that panel as well, and pretty much the same thing as the driver's side, just set up a little bit different as far as where the fasteners are and how many of them. But do the same thing here, work our way around, figure out what we need to remove. Looks like and pull these 10mm. And instead of the plastic nuts, it looks like we're just going to have one more actual bolt here. We'll pull this down from our Toyota. We are going to need to lower our exhaust down a little bit to give us some more room to work. But prior to that, I like to take a strap, just kind of run it from side to side. That way we can kind of control how fast and how far we let the exhaust come down. We're going to have this rubber isolator hanger here by our tailpipe, and that's what's holding the exhaust up. You can spray it down with soapy water, some type of lubricant. I like to just kind of work the exhaust back and forth too to kind of loosen everything up. Then you can take a pry bar or big screwdriver and work one end off the metal hanger. Once that pops free, you can then loosen up your strap a little bit and work the exhaust down some. The frame rails now, where the hitch is actually going to attach, and on the bottom, these three plugs You can pop those out, just take a screwdriver, work them out. And from this point on too, whatever we do to one side of our vehicle, we'll also do to the other side. So we set up the same way. And then we'll have two on the side of our frame rail, which will need to come out as well. As far as our attachment points go, it'll be we'll have 4 on each side. So these 2 threaded holes at the bottom of our frame and the 2 on the side of our frame. And even though all those are covered, it's not a bad idea if you spray penetrating oil in there, take a tube brush and just kind of clean the threads out and get any debris out of there. Ours are in really good shape. Most of the time they are. And the hardware that we're going to be using for those 4 attachment points, you're going to have this bolt, a split lock washer, and a flat washer. And the way this works, we'll put the main body of our hitch up into position first. And you know, these are just going to thread in there. And then once that's loosely installed, we'll have some side plates that will connect here that'll eventually bolt to the trailer hitch. If you have someone that can give you a hand with this part, it makes it much more manageable, but you can't do this by yourself. You know, in this case, you can probably rest the hitch on the top of the exhaust, you know, as long as it's supported good, and kind of work this up into position, get this side started, and then the exhaust side would be my thought. But we'll go up and over behind these tabs here. Get our holes lined up, take our hardware, and get it started hand tight. We'll grab our side plates now, and these are side specific, so make sure to check your instructions, make sure you got the right one. Just to give you something to go off of, we're working on our driver's side. That's what this one looks like. So this is going to line up with those well nuts in the side of the frame. We'll take that hardware combo and just get them started hand tight for now. If you look at the side of our hitch, there's holes in it, which are going to line up with the holes in our side plate. And you can take a bolt that looks like this and a flat washer, so 2 per side. And I like to put them through this way as opposed from the outside in, because when you do it like that, the bolt will hang out so much and make it extremely difficult to actually get a tool on here to tighten this down. And you can't really tighten everything down first, because then it's a huge pain to get everything to line up. You know, that's why we're leaving everything hand tight until it's all in place. So go ahead and push those through. And of course we'll have some hardware on the other end of the bolt that we can put on too. On these ends, you'll put on flat washer, split lock washer, and a nut. You're going to make sure that your hitch is centered, because you can slide it from side to side a little bit. So once you're happy with that, come back and just turn the bolts as tight as you can by hand, just to really help draw everything together. And then we want to grab a 19mm socket. We're going to snug up these ones first. And then we'll do the ones on the bottom of our frame. And if you grab a 3/4 inch wrench or even a 19mm, we can do these. We'll use that same tightening sequence to torque down all of the hardware to the amount specified in our instructions. Reattach these tabs now, and a lot of times, you know, they're not going to line up perfect with the hitch being there, so you might have to just bend it just a little bit and just put the push pins right back in. we'll rehang our exhaust. If you just spray it down again, re-lubricate it, you can just kind of push it right up into place by hand. And once it's supporting itself again, go ahead and get our strap out of the way. If you want to put the driver's side underbody panel back in place, you will need to trim a small portion of it just to clear the hitch. There's a diagram and instructions that you can follow, and I like to just kind of hold it up under the vehicle too and eyeball it, make sure it all makes sense. I'm going to cut this with the multi-tool. You can use a pair of snips, jigsaw, you know, whatever you got around the house. With it trimmed, we'll make sure everything clears. We can get it back into position. After lining everything up, it looks like we're in good shape. We'll go ahead and re-secure it. For the passenger side underbody panel, no trimming required or anything like that to get this one back in place, so feel free to put it back the opposite way that you removed it. And with that wrapped up, that'll do it for our look at and our installation of the EcoHitch Trailer Hitch Receiver on our 2020 Toyota Highlander.